You're about to hear about an act of destruction that shook a small town, the police being called in a hurry, and everyone's unexpected reaction. But it was the priest who did something so unbelievable that the lesson resonates to this day. This is a story that shows the strength of faith even in the face of barbarity. Before we dive into the details that will leave you speechless, I ask that you, right now, write in the comments the names of people and relatives who need prayer, and we will add all of these names to the main prayer with a rosary that we will pray together at the end of the video. On a quiet autumn afternoon, when the last cool breezes of the season seemed to whisper peace, the small chapel of Santa Marta, with its centuries-old walls and charming bell tower, was the daily refuge for many grieving and grateful hearts. No one could have predicted that serenity would be shattered so brutally. In the center of the altar, dominating the space with its imposing presence, stood a dark wooden crucifix, a handcrafted piece weighing about 100 kilograms, a gift from Italian immigrants over a century ago. It stood beside the beloved image of Jesus Christ, both silent witnesses to the community's countless joys and sorrows. The church was empty, as was customary during the quiet hours of midday, preparing only for the evening mass that would bring back human warmth to its naves. It was in this moment of solitude, as the sun cast long shadows across the windows, that the stillness was violently interrupted. It was then that a man, with an incomprehensible fury, burst through the side portal of the chapel. His steps were disorderly, his presence a dissonant stain on the harmony of the place. He didn't seek gold, nor did he offer a prayer. His mission was clear and shocking. Armed with a tool that looked like a small sledgehammer, he began his act of barbarity. The dry, rhythmic blows, echoing off the walls, were directed without hesitation against the main altar. First, the terrible impact struck the face of the image of Jesus, shattering the chin and part of the face painfully, as if tearing the heart of every faithful who had ever prayed there. Then, with redoubled effort, he focused on the crucifix, a groan of the wood as it cracked, and with 2 or 3 more desperate blows, the heavy cross, which seemed untouchable, collapsed to the floor with a deafening thud, shattering into pieces scattered throughout the sanctuary, while the wooden Christ lay among the remains, his body broken in several places. The sound was so loud that nearby neighbors heard and went to check. The scene that unfolded before the first faithful who dared to peek through the door was one of pure horror. Pieces of wood scattered, splinters flying, and the strong smell of destruction mingling with the sacred aroma of incense. The man, now panting and pale, seemed to have exhausted his fury, sitting on a front bench, his shoulders hunched in despair, his eyes fixed on the damage he had caused. The news, like wildfire, spread through the small community. Within minutes, the previously empty chapel was surrounded by an indignant crowd, whose faces, initially pale with fright, soon contorted into expressions of revolt and profound sadness. Soon, police cars approached with sirens wailing, adding an air of urgency and seriousness to the tragedy. The arrival of the police to arrest the man in the act brought a glimmer of relief, but the sight of the shattered statues was an open wound in the community's soul, a painful questioning of violence and faith. The community, shocked and wounded, did not react with the silent mourning expected in such a situation. On the contrary, a wave of indignation and revolt swept over everyone. Many wept openly, lamenting the desecration of the sacred place, while others, with clenched fists and raised voices, demanded justice and severe punishment for the perpetrator. The atmosphere was heavy, permeated by a mixture of sadness, anger, and a profound sense of loss, as if part of the city's soul had been ripped away along with the icons of faith. Conversations in neighborhood groups and on the streets echoed a desire for revenge, an urgency to see those responsible pay for their actions. Children, frightened and confused, questioned their parents about what had happened to those figures who had always given them security and peace, now reduced to mere fragments on the dusty ground, further fueling the collective mourning and pain over the violation of what for them was more than a temple. It was a spiritual home. It was in this cauldron of conflicting emotions that Father Roberto, the good old shepherd who had led his flock for years with his wisdom and serenity, arrived at the scene. His usually imposing figure seemed more hunched. His eyes, instead of expressing reproach, expressed a profound sadness, almost a personal mourning for the destroyed pieces. He didn't rush to speak nor to shout. He simply walked calmly among the wreckage, stooping to gently touch a piece of Jesus' hand, another fragment of the cross, with moving respect. He observed the man, still handcuffed by the police. His shoulders no longer hunched in fury, but trembling with a suppressed cry of despair. Without saying a word to the officers, the priest simply touched the attacker's shoulder, a simple gesture that, in itself, was a balm amidst the chaos, silencing for a moment the most agitated voices of the crowd. At the special mass that followed that evening, with a chapel filled with mourners, Father Roberto did not deliver a condemnatory sermon, nor did he lose himself in lamentations about the violence of the world. His voice, initially choked, soon rose with a message as unexpected as it was transformative. He spoke of the love that precedes forgiveness, of the human capacity to break and rebuild, and above all of the crucifix's most profound lesson, that even in the greatest pain and the most profound destruction, hope and divine love persist. With a gesture that left everyone completely surprised, he asked the faithful not to wish harm to the man who had committed such an act. Instead, the priest requested that everyone unite in prayer, not only for the reparation of the Church, but above all, for the soul and life of the one who had caused so much pain, because only a heart in great suffering can generate so much pain. Words that brought an even greater shock than the act of destruction itself. What Father Roberto did next shocked everyone and changed the community's outlook forever. Rather than simply discarding the fragments or sending them for immediate repair, he proposed something even more radical. He decided that the pieces of the crucifix and the image of Jesus would be carefully collected, treated with dignity, and arranged on a sort of altar of compassion in a discreet corner of the chapel. The broken pieces would not be a symbol of destruction, but of hope, a physical reminder that even in a state of profound desolation, divine love remains whole, and humanity has the capacity to transform tragedy into a lesson. He explained that this temporary altar would be a place of prayer not only for those who mourned, but also for those suffering to the point of committing extreme acts, for even in the deepest of falls, there is an opportunity for redemption and a path back to the light through forgiveness and the sincere prayer of all of us, a living demonstration of the faith that rebuilds more than stones and wood. The priest's attitude transformed the community's anger into a profound invitation to reflection and forgiveness, teaching that the true strength of their faith lay in unconditional compassion. This story, with its shocking twist, invites us to deeply reflect on our daily lives. How often are we tempted to react with anger and judgment when faced with challenges and the attitudes of people who hurt us, when in fact, a gesture of understanding and prayer could transform reality? May our daily prayers not only be about asking, but also about forgiving and interceding, seeking peace in our hearts and in the hearts of those around us. It is this constant practice, this preaching of love in actions and words, that paves the way for further conversions, not only of belief, but of attitudes and a new outlook on life, with greater faith in the power of good. Just as the priest did, our role is to be light and an example. How about we transform this energy of prayer now? Leave here in the comments more names of people and relatives who need a miracle or a blessing, so we can add them to our main prayer with a rosary, bringing hope to those who need it most. What does this incredible act of the priest mean to you? What lesson did this story leave in your heart about forgiveness and the true power of faith? Leave your opinion and thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement is very important to us. If this story touched your soul, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving more inspiring stories like this. May God's peace be with you.